I call this Finance Committee for request for council action. 25-233 budget amendments, 25-234 amend Chapter 154 Medina Municipal Airport Manager, 25-235 2026 blanket PO Clarity Cloud Inc. Building Department, 25-236 2025 police vehicle purchase Montrose Ford, 2537 donation to Feeding Medina County, 2538 2026 renewal for health insurance, 25-239 purchase of a 2027 Freightliner Street Department, 25-240 purchase 2026 Freightliner garbage truck for Sanitation Department, 25-241 increase expenditure for HSH Construction Engineering, 25-242 increase expenditure for Fritz Rummer Cook Company Engineering, 25-243 accept an easement for Medina Street Bridge, 25-244 accept memorandum agreement for 721 South Court, 25-245 expenditure over 35,000 Jet A fuel, 25-246 expenditure over 35,000 for Medina County Treasurer for the courthouse lease, and finally 25-247 expenditure over 35,000 software solutions for software support. Okay. The next item we have is 25-228 a grant application for a new hangar at Medina Municipal Airport. Patrick?
Yeah, thank you. We became aware about 2 weeks ago that the ODOT is opening up. They have an annual grant program. For the first time, they're allowing you to apply for funds for new hangars. We definitely have a need for a new hangar and have to make some steps to see that through. We'd like to go after this money. It's up to a maximum of $750,000 with a 10% local match. Because it's a new program, we think we have a pretty strong argument in our favor, but we have no idea how competitive it's going to be, so really don't know what our chances are, but we'd like to give it a shot.
Sounds good. Questions?
So on the new hangar, I have been working on a lease agreement to lease the footprint for a 10-unit T hangar out at the airport, and I've got a draft done, and it would be an agreement between the City of Medina and Coldstream Air Services, who would construct the hangar. At least that's the initial proposal. And I talked to Mr. Waldron from Coldstream, and if we want to proceed with him constructing the hangar and then renting it over a long-term period of time, and I'm trying to set up the agreement so that we have a pattern for how to develop the airport in the future, because we have not done this so far. If we do receive this grant monies, a new hangar probably is in the area of 1.2 million, maybe 1.5 million. And so the difference, if we receive these grant monies, would be paid for by Coldstream. If we don't receive the monies, then I'm going to proceed with getting the rest of this together and presenting it to council for your consideration, with Coldstream simply building it outright. So either way, our goal is to get at least 3 more hangars up so we can get more than 100 airplanes on the field, which would be considerable help for our dealings with grant monies with the FAA.
Okay, good. Questions?
Move to approve.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 25-224, a new fund request for number 133 Town and Engine House Museum. This was discussed at the last finance meeting, and I believe Chet and Keith were going to talk to Roger and figure something out.
Yes, we did. We met, and it's minimal, very minimal accounting work. We only collected $1,400 last year, wrote 3 checks, those were reimbursements. I think they only wrote 8 checks in the previous 12 years. So it should not be much of a inconvenience upon the finance department. But we met, and Keith said that they need to apply for the state for a new account, but everything seems to be moving forward.
Your approval will request that the state authorize the account. I assume they will, and then we'll create it once we get that.
And it doesn't increase any more liability on the city?
We talked about, and I talked with them about the deposit of the funds, which Jim brought up at the last meeting. They have to get them to us. We have a funds deposit policy, which we showed them. Under the state law, the funds that come into the city have to be into the finance office if it's over 1,000 within a business day or 3 business days if not. So they'd have to follow those policies, right? But liability is more of a legal question, but that's the accounting side of it.
Well, I just think that we already handle a lot of things. I didn't know if, because it's the engine house and it's a separate 501c3, but you mentioned at the last meeting, most of the donations don't get made directly to the engine house, they make it to the city.
Most of the directions are cash.
Oh.
It's just, we had almost 2,000 people over the weekend, and I think we had $150 or something. And I think it was all cash.
Well, that's up to Keith, because that's more of a fraud issue, because if we start handling cash, the auditors don't like that.
True, but it's not material to the city.
True,
So-
overall,
Right.
unless they're gonna start donating a lot more money in cash. No suitcases coming in?
No suitcases.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay, Paul?
just a question I had from last week. If, we write checks for them and the balance gets below zero, who's responsible?
We wouldn't write the check.
Okay.
I mean, it'd be a special revenue fund, and you can't
Okay,
authorize an appropriation unless we have the money. I can't write a check unless there's an appropriation, so we wouldn't.
Okay, and all the expenses would be run through council or finance or
Right, we'd have to
wherever
have,
the level is.
we'd have to have a
requires it.
budget for it that would run through council, and then the authorizations would run through, and I don't think they spend anything that's enough to get to council. It would all be Board of Control.
No.
Okay,
Yes.
all right,
Supervisor level, department head level.
all right. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Move to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 25-233 budget amendments. 25-047. Keith?
So the first one is for the to-be-discussed ordinance for the $50,000. And then we've got a pass-through of a donation and covering costs of the advertisements. And then the last three with the rec center, they're over budget, but that's a area where they sell those programs. So, I mean, the fact that they're over budget just means that we sold more programming, so they got the money. We just need to approve spending it.
Questions?
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 25-234, amend Code Chapter 154 Municipal Airport Manager. Mr. Huber?
When I came on as the law director, the position of airport manager was ostensibly occupied by Rick Grice, and he asked me to take over what he was doing. There's never actually been a position of airport manager, so I've just picked up those duties. Most of the work out at the airport and what happens has involved, at that time, Flight Services, Medina. As time's gone by, the FAA has become more and more reliant upon communication with a point person for the city that they want to refer to as an airport manager. We don't really have that position, so I amended and proposed this new revised Chapter 154 that creates a position of airport manager that's officially recognized by the council, where the mayor appoints, the council approves. It's not a paid position. I've never received any pay for the duties as the airport manager, and that's been okay. But in the last 5 years, I would say, there's been more and more communication between the FAA and more direction and requirement as to what they want and how they want it, and they want communication with an airport manager. So this is what I proposed. It'd be for a 4-year term, whoever the mayor decides. I can carry on for another 4 years. Again, not a paid position. And then whoever comes after me, through this chapter, will now have a designated position of airport manager.
Questions?
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 25-235, a 2026 blanket PO for Clarity Cloud for the building department. Mr. Gladish. Oh, Andrew. Oh, building
Thank you,
department.
Mr. President. This is our annual permit software for building and planning. This is coming to you because we've had an increase in cost due to storage requirements to $21,073. It's split between the building department and planning department, 2/3 building and 1/3 planning. Thank you.
Maybe Dan wants to talk about it then, because he's paying most of the money. I don't know. All right, any questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Paul?
Andrew, do we keep a local copy of this? I see it's out on the cloud, but do we keep a local copy of the data should the internet go poof?
We do not.
Maybe you should.
I'm not even sure how we would.
Talk to Darren,
Do
I
that.
think he might have a clue. Okay? I would strongly recommend that you keep everything, keep something here local, because you never know with the wackos out there in this world today.
Any other questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. 25-236, 2025 police vehicle purchases. Chief Kinney.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is part of our annual rotation of our vehicles. It's for the purchase of 4 cruisers, 3 of which are budgeted for. 1, it will be paid for with carry-forward funds. This will be purchased through the CEU purchasing program. We will have a trade-in value of $18,500 to offset that cost.
Questions?
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 25-237, donation for Feeding Medina County. If you recall, at the last meeting, I talked about, and I put the request in, we in the city, we do a lot of things as council, and we do a lot of things for businesses over the years. We have a lot of grant programs for the businesses. We try to encourage businesses to come to help increase their income tax, right? We do a lot of different things for that. But then it came, watching TV, and everybody's been aware of what's been going on with the government shutdown. The federal government really can't get their act together, and people suffer. So we have a lot of people suffering out there. And I know that people that were on the SNAP program, even though it came back into existence, it's going to take time for everything to start going back to normal again. And we, in the city of Medina, from doing some research here, we have 11.4% of our population who is on the SNAP program or other similar program that qualifies for being a SNAP recipient. And with that in mind, with Thanksgiving coming, and there was a great outpouring of donation of food for the Thanksgiving holidays, and now we're going to go into the Christmas holidays, and so the time between Thanksgiving and Christmas is still going to be a time of need. It's not going to just disappear. And we still have a lot of people in the city who will need to have food because they are maybe not receiving the benefits from the SNAP program that they should receive. Maybe it's not at 100%. Maybe they're still food insecure. And we, I think, as a city, should recognize that, and we as a city should take care of the most vulnerable of our community in the time of need. And I think that's an obligation of us as elected officials, is to look at that and try to find a solution. Now, I put a proposal in to spend up to $50,000 and give the donation to Feeding Medina County. And the reason for Feeding Medina County is Chet Simmons spoke with various groups and made a determination that with the amount of money, the timeline that's included in this, and the ability to reach the most people that live in the city of Medina, Feeding Medina County was the best avenue, I believe, Chet, and you could speak to that. So I think what I wanted to propose to council is, we should pass an ordinance that will, donate up to $50,000 to Feeding Medina County that will be used just for city residents. And we need verification of this also, so we're going to need to know the name and address of the people that receive these benefits, because we as a city cannot, just give money out to township residents, because it's the city taxpayer dollars that were generated from the city and should go back to the city. So that's a question for Feeding Medina County, if they can satisfy that requirement to ensure that the donations, the food donations, are reaching only city residents. I think that's a key to this proposal. But overall, in thinking about what we need to do as a city, I think this is something that, we should step up as a community and do this for our residents, because they're in need. We do this for businesses when they come to the community and want a need. We give them an abatement either in taxes, or we give them some other kind of benefit. We should now look towards, in this situation, people that in our community that are struggling, and we do not want people to go hungry or be food insecure for an immense amount of time. I know there's been a lot of donations given out from various churches, from also Feeding Medina County. I know some of the monies have been cut from the food banks around the country because they made cutbacks at the federal level. I'm not really sure why there's not a view of an importance of using, feeding the people, but there is for some reason out there. There's some kind of, something going on that people, if you're hungry, so be it, and that's really not how it should be. You really should look at, what the need is. So Chet, I don't know if you want to give an update of what you found out on your discussions with the various organizations and why Feeding Medina County would be the best recipient of these funds.
Yeah, thank you, John. I spoke with Janet Newcomer, Executive Director of Feeding Medina County. We spoke many times at great length about this project and how it might be implemented to reach the most families out there that are food insecure. We kind of settled upon a one-stop drive. Estimated 100 to 150 families would probably come. We would do it at maybe at the rec center lot, some city lots that's open, it's lit. Project to do it at 5 o'clock to 6:30. Most people get off work either at 3:30 or 5 o'clock, so it would fit their schedule. They would drive in one area, we would load up the car, they drive out another area so it's safe, secure. We could use help from employees from at City Hall, City Administration, City Medina, as well as Rotary groups. Rotary is offered, Kiwanis is offered to help support that. A check-in, and Janet can further expound. She said for certainly the addresses would not be a problem. There is a check-in process that's utilized now. And so to verify folks, they've already been vetted for their income levels and that type thing to qualify. The name was in question depending on Akron Regional Food Bank requirements, privacy requirements. But we know from city addresses, it's going to be approximately 1,000 and less. It's going to be a city resident. So we would know that from that street address. They were very accommodating in discussions for those families that would not be able to make a drive on this particular night at this particular time. They would make up Medina bags and have them at their office. So Monday through Friday, 9 to 3, they could stop in, say the City of Medina, that verification, that check-in process. They already do. We're trying to make this so it's not a drain on their existing staff. They operate on a very small staff level. We don't want to overwhelm or compromise their work. But they would have city bags available that they purchase with this monies so that they could pick up, just walk in and request that. So
the one question I have, Janet, if you don't mind going to the back microphone so we can drill you a little bit. I guess the one question while you're walking back there is, if we give up to $50,000, how many families can be fed on $50,000, or what is the estimated number of families that can be fed on that amount of money?
Well, that is a very significant donation for us. I'm going to hedge a little bit as far as how many families we're able to feed because food costs, as you know, fluctuate. For example, earlier this year, eggs, which we typically distribute, were at almost $8 a dozen. Now that price has dropped. We are very comfortable saying that we would be able to feed at least 300 families with a donation of that size. I think the number probably will be higher, but until we're able to identify all the sources for the food and secure that food, I cannot say with 100% certainty to the penny how many people we would be able to feed. We currently are serving, and I think I shared these numbers with Chet. I took a look at all of the clients who had come to Feeding Medina County beginning January 1, 2025 through November 10th, 2025. We've served over 300 city residents in that time period. They've come at different times to different distributions. Some have come to the emergency pantry, but we've served over 300 city residents. In addition to that, we serve approximately 100 senior citizens at the senior housing facilities located within the boundaries of the city limits. So that puts us at 400 city residents. A donation of that size, we could easily, as I said, easily feed at least 300 people. I think we can easily push that to 400, and we could satisfy food requirements for at least 400 people in the city of Medina.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what the goal would be, especially during the holiday season. I think it comes a little bit more stressful and a little bit more difficult for families to figure out how they're going to make it through the holiday season, both starting on Thanksgiving, of course, and going through the Christmas holiday. And I think if that could be achieved, I think the goal of making sure that really no city resident goes hungry over the holidays would be achieved. Right?
I agree. As I said, it is a very significant and impactful donation. We would be able to provide eggs and milk and butter and frozen protein, as well as fresh produce and pantry staples with a donation of that size. So really, truly, the groceries that a family would need to prepare meals.
And in your conversations with Chet, so this is doable to do this drive and then have extra city bags on hand and to get the food within, probably have to be in the next 3 weeks, I would imagine, that we'd probably want to target that, but the middle of December or somewhere like that?
We would ask for a window of 3 to 4 weeks, depending on food availability. We would obviously need to be placing special orders, and while that's something we do typically every single week, unfortunately, it being the holidays, some people close up, shut down, everybody's trying to get extra food, and so one source that might typically be available to us, because of other commitments they may not have the food that we need, so we need to go to a second or a third source for food. So I'm going to ask for a little bit of wiggle room with that, yes.
Okay, Paul?
Thank you. When you say we can feed between 300 and 400 people, is that a day, a week, a month? How long?
That would be, we look at the food that we provide as providing food for a family for a week.
Okay, and a family of 4?
A family of 4 for a
Okay,
week,
all right, thank you.
exactly.
I have a question. Are you going to offer for the 2 weeks where the students aren't in school, because I know they're not going to be getting will there be additional supplies because those kids are going to be home instead of getting their free lunches at, or breakfast or both at school?
We would certainly include, and that's part of our calculation for the use of these funds, would be to be able to include extra items in those food bags for the students that are typically receiving the weekender bags, yes.
Hi, Janet. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the work you do with Feeding Medina County. Actually, when you asked for a little leeway, I'm kind of wondering, I'm taking it from a different perspective, that I know how much is being done for families from the schools for Thanksgiving this week, for Christmas. Would there be any thought about maybe waiting till after Christmas, because there's so many other groups right now that are reaching out and take care of families? I'm worried about after Christmas, January, February.
Working with the city, we are very flexible to do that. We discussed doing a distribution before Christmas. We also looked at that week immediately after Christmas and thought, that gets it in during this calendar year, but happens right after the holidays, because you're right, there is a lot of emphasis on food for the holidays, but then the holidays come and unfortunately, people are still going to be food insecure in January if they're food insecure in December, yes.
We get a call almost daily, what can we do this week for Thanksgiving? We've already got a list of people helping for Christmas, but nobody calls us in January and February asking about what can we do for families.
We will work with you, yes.
So I have a question. I had 2 draft ordinances. One had an accounting requirement set out in section 4, the other did not. Which ordinance are we going to be passing here onto the council?
The one with the accounting requirement?
Okay. So you're going to be able to provide a way to determine that these individuals are citizens of the city, and how are you going to account back to the city on that?
We track each person or each family that comes to Feeding Medina County is required to provide identification with us, and we track the names and the address in a database. I can then extract that information and provide you with every single address that we have served within the city. I have a call into the Akron-Canton Regional Food Bank. We are a partner agency of the food bank, and part of our agreement with the food bank does involve privacy provisions for the clients that we serve. So I've got to call into them, but I don't have an answer yet as far as being able to share names, but I can absolutely share addresses. So we would, prior to food delivery, we would verify that the address is within the city limits, and then be able to provide you with a complete list of all of the addresses that we served.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Janet, thank you for being here and answering these questions. First of all, I'd like to thank John for submitting this request. I know we did this when COVID first came out for a couple different organizations, not the amount that we're going to be offering your organization. I just, again, want to commend John, and I'm sure everybody on this dais here in administration will, we all know that there's a need year-round, but this last few months, not just because of the shutdown, but a lot of different things that's happened state and nationally that has made people more food insecure. I know the job reports that's not coming out for October, November, it's not showing the number of, which we watch national news. There's a lot of layoffs that's happening even in our local community in the industrial area. Hopefully that won't last long, but we don't know. So I think this is going to be an ongoing situation for the residents of our community, and I'm grateful that again, John brought this up, and I hope everybody supports this. And I'd also like to make a recommendation when Chet mentioned the distribution center that we can get all city council members there to help hand that out. So Janet, thank you for what you do.
And this is touching on what Jim and Denny said, and I've talked to Janet already about this, but there was also another opportunity that I was made aware of over the weekend. Chet and I were volunteering on the square with the candlelight ceremony, and as I usually do, I talk to constituents and kind of throw things at them and get their opinions. And after John, suggested this food program with the city residents, I asked somebody what they thought about that, and they thought it was a great idea. But at the same time, somebody heard me asking, and it was a member of Main Street Medina, and they made me aware that the Promise of Christmas had collected a lot of money for the families that came up from, I believe it was North Carolina, and they had some money left, approximately $80,000. And I agree. I'm concerned that, we have a lot of generosity around the holidays, but what's going to happen after January, February? And what we would need to do is we would need to get the money from Main Street Medina. However, when I talked to George Sam about this, he needed the city to get back to him right away to let him know that we were interested in taking these funds, but he needed to get with his donors to get their permission to make sure it was okay. Now, in my mind, there's, I guess, once we get that going, do we as a city need to take that, or can it go directly to you from Main Street Medina?
It could go directly to Feeding Medina County from Main Street Medina.
Okay.
Yes.
And I think, I don't know what you guys
Well,
think about
that
this.
makes sense if the extra money for what Jim talked about, the January effect, let's call it. And, having money available, if they can make that donation directly and make it limited to, if they could, city residents to keep the program ongoing through the month of January, that'll be very helpful, because then you got, 2 months, and maybe the $50,000 that we donate and they go through a program in December, you won't use it all, right? Maybe you only go to 200, maybe 150 families take that money during December, and then it could roll over to the January and do another drive to make sure people have the food at that time. And plus, maybe see if Main Street, if their donors are willing to donate the 80,000 and then keep it going maybe through February. At least we have a few months that we can cover, that we don't, we make sure the people, at least in the city, and the kids are being, fed. That's kind of what the goal would be.
John, I failed to mention, and I've mentioned this to several people over the years, Jim, when I used to be stationed out at the Montville Safety Center. Jim religiously on Fridays would come in, and we'd sometimes be able to help him stuff bags for the weekend deliveries for the children on the school program, and I was fortunate enough a couple times to be able to help with those deliveries. And when we talk about food insecurity, it is amazing how grateful when those items are dropped off to families, how grateful these families are, and I mean, it just touches your heart to see what's being done and how it affects people. And I didn't want to fail to mention, Jim, how you religiously have done that, and families in our communities and our school district has definitely appreciated it.
One other question I have, I appreciate, Janet, your concern about privacy. That's a big concern of mine. Obviously, I deal with free and reduced lunch program, and I know the rules there. Is there any chance that council would be satisfied, other than Janet knowing the family names, just providing council an address and the number of people served at that house? I would really prefer not to have families and a public document have to be turned in here, just for their own dignity and their self-respect, that it's a very sensitive issue for people when you provide food to them. And I would like to maintain their privacy as much as possible. And I have a feeling the Akron Cannon Food Bank might tell you that would be their preference as well.
Exactly. We do track number of family members, and we divide it according to seniors and children, as well as adults. So that demographic information is easy for us to provide, yes.
So you're saying instead of the name and address, just do the address?
The address.
The address.
Janet would know the
Number of
name, and
people.
she'd know how many people are in that household. She could report that back to us, that here's an address that was a city resident, and this is how many residents that were in that house. I was hoping that would be enough, as opposed to having to get the name of the
Yeah, as long
family.
as we can make sure that the money's being spent in the city, I think that satisfies our goal of making sure that it doesn't leave the city. So, yeah, I think that we can eliminate the name. So when we pass the information, we get to say just the address instead of, because right now the ordinance says name and address, so we just have to make sure that we pass and just say the address. Mayor?
So why don't you pass that, subject to my approval, and then we'll amend that.
Okay.
I think it would be helpful, that was one of my comments, was section 4 would have to be amended because it says name and address. So if we do it subject to Greg's approval, that would take care of that. And it does say, Janet, I don't know that you've had a chance to see the two proposed ordinances, that within 180 days of the funding being provided. So it does give you a period of time to work through that. Administratively, I think I would feel better if we also knew without names, 1 adult, 3 kids, 2 adults, 2 kids, whatever, because then at least we can quantify it in some fashion. But at the end of the day, if you take 400 individuals into the 50,000, we're talking about 125 per. So it's not an extraordinary amount of money. The other thing is, and it may be related to their busyness with the candlelight walk, but that 80,000 that's been left over, that was a partnership with the city, Castle Noel, the Chamber, Main Street, and the Medina County Convention and Visitors Bureau. And the 5 team members thought that 80,000 should first be offered to the people in Little Rock as they're rebuilding their community, to create something down there, if interested, to represent Medina in their community.
And what they're doing down there is they have a whole group to reinvent their whole community. And we told them that 80,000 would be available if and when necessary down there. So I just want to caution on, we've already promised that to them to try to redirect it. Now, I'd also share with council that much like we did for the promise of Christmas, we have a great deal of philanthropic businesses here in the community, in the industry and the commercial and private entities like our foundations. So if there's an interest in doing some other fundraising, I think we could put together a committee to try to get some resources in addition to the cities to then also ask for ongoing food insecurity needs. So I would just share those two things.
And Mayor, I'm sorry, I think that's a great idea. I know the county has moved forward with the new opening of the new homeless shelter, which with that and what we're trying to do here, I think it's going to show the people that are truly in need that Medina does care. And like John said, that's what we're here for. So thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
I had one other comment. I just want to make sure, I know there was 2 other organizations that had offered to help, and they're really good community partners and do a lot of good. I want to thank them for offering, and then Chet, have you had conversations with them that we were leaning more toward this route?
I called Captain Tracy, and she did not return my call, and then I haven't spoken with Cindy
Okay.
at CUPS.
Keith, what are you holding up there?
I just need to give, this is paperwork we have to have before we write the check. I just want to let everybody know.
Yeah, Keith always has little hurdles you got to jump.
Mr. President, I had one thing. Yeah, in terms of reaching our city residents, Janet briefly touched upon it, but I just wanted to clarify it, I guess, a little bit. This drive would be available for those families that could drive to the site or have somebody be proxy and pick it up for them. But those seniors that are homebound, they would be served because there are already distribution network delivery in place for Southview Villas, Nottingham Court, Northview Manor, all those places that would address our seniors where they are. So that's another way to make sure we saturate the city with this program.
Well, I guess the question is, let's see how this works, right? I mean, the goal is the breadth of getting the distribution out. And I think the distribution is the most difficult part of delivery, of course, because it's all logistics, because you have to get the food to the person. And sometimes if people can't come to the food, as you just mentioned, you'd have to try to figure a way to get to the nursing homes to supply the food, or the people that live in the senior apartments that need the food to get to them because maybe they can't travel. So I think we could try this out as far as implementing it. It sounds like you're able to comply with the requirements that we have, and also whatever Keith wants you to sign, you'd have to read that over. Maybe have to get a couple lawyers look at that first. But you could check that out, and we can move it forward and see who we can serve before Christmas. And then again, if there's, and it seems like there's going to be, since there's a lot of generosity during the holidays, there'll be money and food left over to maybe spill over the last week of the year this year, and the first of next year to continue that process. And it sounds like the $80,000 may be spoken for. Right.
We'll check into it.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Move to approve with emergency clause,
Second, including the emergency clause?
subject to final approval of the law director on the ordinance.
Same.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
I would like to say, on behalf of all the city residents that we will feed, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, 25-239, a purchase of a 2027 Freightliner for the street department. Nino?
You skipped
Give me-
healthcare.
Oh, did I?
You have the insurance one first?
Wait, hold on. Nino, you're too soon. I crossed one out. 25-238, 2026 healthcare renewal for employees. Mayor?
Thank you. So we went out to the market because originally Medical Mutual came in at 20.68 above our current rate. So the market put some pressure on them, and they agreed to come down to 9% above the current, which according to our healthcare broker is within the trends today. In fact, the market is about 9 to 13% increase. The dental come in at 10% above the current, and we were able to negotiate that down to 5%. And the remaining with the incumbent, which is Medical Mutual of Ohio, there is a risk if we would switch, even for a small amount of savings, to SumaCare, for example. This is, again, from the broker, because it's upfront savings, which creates risk of renewal shock. In other words, in the future years, they'll make up for that reduction they gave us the first year. The other thing is with our wellness, the city's commitment to employee health and engagement is reflected in our participation in Medical Mutual's wellness program, which not only improves the healthcare outcomes of our staff, but it earned the city $63,000 in wellness credits for next year, which directly offset the premium costs. In addition to that, the city's participation in the WorkSpring Wellness Program is included by Medical Mutual at no cost. Switching carriers would mean we would lose the wellness credits mentioned, which was the $63,000, and also incur $42,000 in annual cost for another wellness program that's currently being provided to us. So together that would be a $105,000 difference. They helped us pay for the facility upgrades and the gym downstairs, and it demonstrates that Medical Mutual views the city as a local partner, less than a client. So while the low bids are tempting, they often come with hidden costs and future risks, and our broker is recommending that we stay with Medical Mutual for 2026. There's also, every time we change healthcare providers, we find either specialists or doctors that are no longer covered, which causes a lot of chaos for employees and their families. So it's our recommendation that we renew with Medical Mutual at the renewal rates they provided, and we need to do that with the emergency clause in order for them to get the paperwork all ready to implement it by December 1st.
Thank you. Keith?
Just budget-wise, we had budgeted, I think, for 12. This is a little less. I sent you out the budgets, which is amended to this. They had recommended that we use, so what's used in the budget is an estimate of 15 for 2027, and then 12 for the out years. I know I tell you this every time, but there's some new people, and Ed's here, he's new. So the budget number that I gave you is 2% over what they gave us, and that is because the 12 months that we pay for in a calendar year are 11 months at that year's rate and 1 month at the next year's rate, because we pay a month ahead. So the extra 2% enables me to cover an increase in whatever we end up having to pay for January of 2027. I think that's everything I have. I just want to echo what the mayor said when you talk about switching carriers, because those questions mostly come back through my office. I mean, it's a mess for the employees, because you're losing, you can't go to this doctor anymore, you got to go to that one, or what. So obviously, you know, if it's going to save us $1 million, I mean, you have to make the change. But if it's a couple $100, it's not worth it. I mean, we put some employees through a ringer.
And just so that the public is aware, do you recall, what is our total healthcare premiums that we contribute? Is it
Close to $3
million now? So yeah, so the 10% increase is almost like 250 to 300,000 we're talking about.
I mean, it's a huge, and it goes up, you know, when you talk about 9% a year, the trend is 9 to 12. I've been saying since, you know, every year it's a bigger part of our budget, because everything else doesn't go up at 9 to 12, but it is what it is. So.
Well, yeah, right. And if we're at 3 million now, if it goes up another 10% next year, I mean, it's 3.3 million, and then, you know, we're up
Doesn't take long to get to 4.
it's $4 million, and then you're wondering where all the money go. So that's kind of where it goes. Mayor?
I'm sorry, I should have shared too, but this is in my head, not on my paper. So when we go for these renewals, what they look at generally is the amount of premiums that we're paying versus the amount of payouts that they're paying. And they like that to be in the mid 7s to low 8s, what that means is, for every dollar we pay, they like to spend between 75 cents and 85 cents. This year, we were at 95 cents of every dollar. And there's an explanation for each of those. Some of our pharmacy costs are high-end medications. We had some cancer diagnoses and treatments, and we had some other larger healthcare costs. So there's an explanation for the reason that number is out of the norm this year, and we've been able to control that pretty well in the last, well, at least 16 years that I've been here. So our hope and prayer is that number next year and the year after will go back into that 75 cents to 85 cent range, and then our renewal will likely come down as well because they see the loyalty of the city. So my point in all that is this seems to be an out year for us. Medical Mutual, we actually had a very low increase 2 years ago, and then they held the line last year. So they've treated us very fairly over the years.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I mean, we still got to plan for and deal with the issue of the increase of the expenditure over time. You know, we had a good luck of keeping the revenues above expenses, but as we, you know, keep building out the industrial and we have to find new ways to raise the revenues, expenses are going to catch up at some point. So we just got to be cognizant of that. Anything else? Okay.
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Nino, now you're up. 25-239, the 2027 Freightliner.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is a purchase of a large plow truck, complete. I'm going to point out that it is a 2027, so we most likely will not see this until the 26-27 winter season, which is a year and several months. This will be twofold. The first PO will be with Cleveland Freightliner using the Ohio Department of Transportation state bid process for the cab and chassis in the amount of $113,961. And then the second PO will be with Henderson for the plow, the hitch, the body, and the complete tailgate. And the total cost is $238,449 for the complete truck, which actually is a savings of $61,000 because the initial quotes we were getting were around $300,000 for a complete truck and plow.
And how long is this going to last?
So this is replacing an O2 truck. So I think that served the city well, and that's still going to be in service through this winter, and it's seen better days, but it owes the city nothing. So we're looking at 25 years by the time it goes out of service.
That's good.
That
deal.
one we bought in '02 was probably 80. Just
Yeah.
For,
Yeah, things are a little bit more expensive, but yeah, if we can, you know, keep the maintenance up on it and have that wash that we have there to get the salt off of it, we can save them as long as possible, I guess. Any other questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Nino, again, another purchase of a 2026 Freightliner garbage truck.
So this, thank you, this is a purchase of a rear load 25 cubic yarder. Now, we don't get the same amount of years, however, the sanitation trucks, they run hard, they run year round, 5-6 days a week. We get about 15,000 hours on the motors, probably 12 years out of service versus the 23, 24 years with utilization in the fleet. Supervisor in the sanitation department as well as vehicle maintenance, they look at these purchases. This is going to be a leach body, which we're getting away from the Heil. I know it doesn't mean a whole lot to the council, but it's a thicker metal. So they're trying to look at the design and the longevity of the durability of these vehicles in the hopper, because that seems to wear out quickly, you know, with all the high use and the high pressure.
All right, thank you. Questions?
One question. I remember you talked about in budget hearings, the problems with the Packers is that the panels give out first. Do you have any leeway with scheduling the panel walls on these to make them more secure in the bid process?
So that's what the leach body is versus the Heil. I hate to name their names in public, but the leach body is more durable. The thickness is 3/8, I believe, with respect to the wall thickness of the body, and does not wear out as fast.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 25-241, increased expenditure for HSS Construction Engineering. Patrick?
Thank you, Mr. President. We estimated, this is the work to install the fire line at the new municipal courthouse, tapping into our water line on Broadway and extending it to the courthouse. Initially, we estimated $20,000. The actual final price came in at a little over $28,000. So this is a request to increase that PO to $28,260. And I would confirm that the city is splitting this cost with the court.
Any other questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 25-242, increase expenditure for Fritz Rummer Cook Co-Engineering. Patrick?
Thank you. We are required as a railroad to have certified rail inspectors inspect our track and signals monthly. We got caught off guard earlier this year when our longtime rail inspection firm went out of business almost overnight. We did a quick search and found Fritz Rummer Cook. We got a couple of proposals. They were the least expensive, however, they're much more than our previous firm. Initially, we funded them for 6 months, kind of as a trial. They've done an excellent job. We'd like to extend them. This will get us through the end of the year, maybe into January, and hopefully at that point, we'll be able to kind of go through that proposal process again to make sure they're still the lowest. I would note some good news. You know, we've had a rash of rail breaks this year. About 2 weeks ago, we got a full FRA rail inspection, and we came away with no violations, so that was good.
Great. Good. Any other questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 25-243, and accept an easement for Banana Street Bridge. Patrick?
Yes, we needed 3 easements to replace the Medina Street Bridge. We've had 2 of them. This is the 3rd and final one.
Questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 25-244, accept memorandum of agreement for 721 South Court Street. Patrick?
Thank you. The residents at 721 South Court Street would like to build a fence on their property. This fence will cross the sanitary sewer. The county has no problem with that as long as they signed this memorandum of understanding, which they did, which has some contingencies about the fence should the county need to get in and do any maintenance on that. We need to, since we own the sanitary sewer, we need to accept this memo agreement that was prepared by the county and accepted by them.
Questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 25-245, expenditure over $35,000, Jet A Fuel. Keith?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is our annual, and just so everybody remembers, we're guessing on what the price of fuel is going to be and exactly how much they'll use. So, I mean, if the price goes up, we will be back for additional money, but we'll also charge more on the back end, so it kind of all comes out in the wash.
Questions?
Emergency clause, Keith.
This is
on
for
there.
2026 fuel. I don't know why we need the emergency clause.
Well, you put it on there.
Yeah, I did. I don't think we need the emergency clause. I think we're good.
Okay.
It'll be, because it'll be effective, yeah, it'll be effective in December. Are we voting on it tonight?
No, I don't think, on council you're talking
Yeah,
about?
if it's not going to council till December, we're asking for the emergency clause in case we got to gas up in early January.
Wait, hold the phone.
I don't think it's on tonight, because
It
I
is
looked through the, yeah, so that's why.
Okay.
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 25-246, expenditure over $35,000, Medina County Treasurer for the courthouse lease. Keith?
This one's our lease payment for this new arrangement we have there.
For quarter? The first quarter of '26?
Yeah.
Okay. Right?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 25-247, expenditure over 35.
This should be the year. It's the purchase order for the year, but we're getting it in time to make the first quarter payment.
Okay.
I got you. Okay, you're right, 70,000 a year. 25-247, expenditure over 35,000, software solutions.
This is an annual.
Okay. Questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Anything else to come before finance? Hearing nothing, the meeting is adjourned.